Now, when I ask you to think of your favourite underrated Disney movie, which one comes to mind? For some, I imagine it's The Rescuers, a tale of mouse detectives helping rescue abduction victims from around the world. For others, perhaps it's Oliver and Company. Take the Charles Dickens novel Oliver Twist, but everyone's now an animal. These films often fly under the radar for most of the general public, and yet there's always one or two people that believe them to be in the upper tier of Disney's repertoire of animated movies. For me, the answer is easy. It would have to be Atlantis, The Lost Empire. For those of you in the dark, let me start at the very beginning. Our whole universe was in a hot, dense state that nearly 14 billion years ago, some Atlantean mooks decided to do a little bit of trolling by setting off a thermonuclear bomb. The resulting explosion causes a minor amount of property damage, destroying most of the city and its people. It's here that we meet a young Princess Kida and watches her mother is chosen by space rock magic and ascends into the sky, creating a barrier around the inner city and protecting them from the oncoming water. This is what you get for not paying your taxes. Now at this point in the film, you might be wondering who the Atlanteans are fighting. While it's never truly explained, I believe local historian Georgios Tsoukalos can answer that question.
Egyptologists agree that this type of a shape descended from the sky.
As the music swells, we watch helplessly as the entire city is engulfed and sinks beneath the ocean waves. Bazinga! Flash forward to 1914 where we meet Milo Thatch, a young linguist cartographer working in the boiler room of the Smithsonian, looking for some money from his benefactors to finance an expedition to find a book claiming to know the way to the city of Atlantis. Naturally, they think he's crazy, so they run and tell him to focus his attention on more important matters, like making them more money. And since Milo has the physical constitution of a Victorian child, rather than stand up for himself, he returns home dejectedly to his cat Fluffy. Whereupon he meets Helga, accompanied by completely appropriate jazz music, I can assure you. And one thing you'll notice immediately about her is she can't seem to afford clothes that fit properly, resulting in everything she wears to constantly slide off of one of her shoulders, which gets really annoying once you notice it. She takes him to her employer, Preston Whitmore, who's basically Elon Musk if he wanted to explore in the opposite direction. It's here that we meet our motley crew: Danny DeVito, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the army guy from Avatar, and the best one, to name but a few. With everyone here and ready, the crew embark on their mission to find the lost city of Atlantis. Spoiler alert, they do, and a whole lot of other shit happens on the way. I'm not going to give you a play-by-play of the whole film, rather make the setup as amusing to you guys as possible. It's right here. Go watch it. Now, if I had to rank Atlantis on its strengths alone, I would put it straight up as one of my favourite 2D animated works from Disney, alongside Treasure Planet, Brother Bear, and The Emperor's New Groove. This movie is absolutely gorgeous to look at with vibrant colours and creative designs, with the city of Atlantis itself feeling equal parts new and exciting, as well as ancient and alien, as a city lost to the world for thousands of years should feel, really, accompanied by a musical score that is easily beyond words, as the composer James Newton Howard covers every facet that you could possibly need for an adventure like this. Beautiful. Thrilling. And always appropriate for whatever scene it's complementing. Paired perfectly alongside this is quite the cast, comprised of both Hollywood veterans and professional voice actors alike. In the former, you have the likes of Leonard Nimoy, James Garner, and Michael J. Fox, with Corey Burton, Phil Morris, and Cree Summer representing the latter, while Jim Varney and David Ogden Stiers are, of course, well known for both. These actors help bring to life one of the most diverse cast of characters you can imagine. Each one of them has a unique backstory, an interesting design, and is absolutely hilarious. Sweet, being the good guy doctor, means he can be a little overbearing at times, but you just want to hug the big guy. Vinny is bar none the funniest character in the movie, and you'll find yourself quoting everything he says by the time the credits roll. Mrs. Packard is the perfect representation of the doomer in all of us. Audrey is the most realistic of the group, wanting to take care of her family, and Moliere is... well, Moliere. Each one makes up only a small part of the exploration team. You've got the engineer, the spy, the medic, the demolition... Wait a minute! Now, for all the praise I've given it, it would be amiss to say that this movie is without its own flaws. It's far from being perfect. The first problem which it suffers being the minor case of white savior complex that we've seen a few times before, in such films as Avatar, Pocahontas, Dances with Wolves, Fern Gully. It may have been unintentional for what the production team were aiming for, but it's fair to say that it takes away the urgency of our other characters. For as interesting and proactive a character as Princess Kida is, having her spend the majority of the film's climax incapacitated as a comatose crystal who needs to be rescued by the male hero was probably not the best idea, I'll admit. This film definitely suffers from its short runtime, often feeling too short at times, or with pacing that fluctuates so wildly it feels unnatural. Once the film has introduced you to a new character or location, it's almost immediately time for the next scene to play out, and we're not allowed to really experience the moment. A lot of interesting concepts are introduced, but never fully explored. One example being, Kida tells Milo that her people are alive but not thriving. But not only does the movie not explain this any further, but they also look like they're doing just fine to me. And as much as I love the cast, the short runtime can leave their double crossing of Milo only to have a change of heart after seeing what awaits Atlantis, comes out of nowhere and ends far too quickly. This moment is set up earlier in the movie.
Money. I'm going to say money.
It had proper setup, and when the moment comes, minus the completely obvious ones, it stings a little to see characters Milo growing closer to ready to turn on him. Had they been allowed a longer runtime, it would have made the film much better to be able to see the internal conflicts of the characters and see them slowly come to terms with what they were doing and the ramifications of their actions. I believe my main issues with the film can also be connected to the reasons I think it didn't make money as well. This was Disney's attempt at making a grand action adventure, but in some ways it was still hindered by having the Disney label associated with it. Atlantis: The Lost Empire is right at 95 minutes long, the perfect length for a family film, but far too short for a big summer blockbuster. The film has death and violence as well as many mature themes in it, but it's watered down heavily enough to maintain the PG rating. Because of this, or rather just the general attitude at the time, it's a shame to admit that Atlantis underperformed heavily at the box office, alongside some other lesser known animated movies that were released at that time, such as Monsters Inc. and Shrek. 2001 was a completely different time for Disney and cinema in general, as many parents wanted to take their children to go see a light-hearted, cute animated movie, and with Atlantis what they got was an intense sci-fi flick with a dense mythology and some genuinely scary moments. It's honestly hard for me to review this film as anything but positive, not just because my childhood was a sucker for anything loosely sci-fi based, but also for how much it deviates from what would become Disney's formula in later years. I can still watch this movie now as an adult and be immediately immersed into the world that the film creates, as it took risks with its story and didn't stick too close to a set formula, even if that can lead to some tonal clashes, something I feel modern Disney didn't do as much until recent years. Much like another favourite movie of mine, Pacific Rim, the overall logistics of the movie may be hard to comprehend for many, or downright ridiculous for others, but when it comes to being relatable on not only an emotional level, but a human level, I think the film far and exceeds any expectations. There are many things to love about Atlantis: the dedication to having a diverse cast of characters from around the world, the technical aspects of the ending scene which begins as one 16-inch piece of paper before panning out into an over 18,000-inch piece of paper, or the equivalent of over 150 feet worth of paper all stitched together digitally, as well as some fantastic world building and sound design. Just as much so there are reasons to criticize it, with some viewers of the film claiming a strong resemblance to the famous 1990s Japanese anime called Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water. These similarities ranging from character design, story flow, background setting, even the crystal-based technology that the Atlanteans use. Now, the director Kirk Wise has stated that he has never even heard of such a show when Atlantis was in production, and so the similarities between the two might just be related to both being inspired by the Jules Verne novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It might not be completely perfect, but it hits all the right boxes for me. It's a fun, light-hearted adventure at times, and a thrilling action film the next, with fun characters and an interesting setting and plot. So give it a try when you've got the time, and if you're not considering it,